November 29th, and this is a Fox News alert. Terrorism not being ruled out in the violent rampage at Ohio State University carried out by a Somali refugee.
But everything is there. A Somali refugee, the type of attack, hitting people with his vehicle, using the knife.
The hunt right now for clues as chilling new information emerges overnight about the suspect and his past. We are live in Columbus, Ohio.
And a dire situation breaking out overnight. Down south, firefighters scrambling to keep Dollywood from going up in flames. The mass evacuations happening overnight at a popular resort town.
Get ready. Buckle up. Buckle up. The Trump transition team promising a very important announcement. We are live in Washington. Fox and Friends First starts right now. We will have all of those stories in a moment, but first we want to start with this, a Fox News alert happening right now. 5 people miraculously surviving a horrific plane crash overnight in Colombia.
The chartered plane carrying 81 people, including a Brazilian soccer team, when it crashed in the mountains just outside of the city of Medellin, killing 76.
Right now, we know the pilot made an emergency call about an electrical failure in the moments before impact. And in this flight radar that you can see here, you can see the plane circling before it went down.
Well, news of the crash quickly spreading through the soccer world. Take a look. This is video posted to the team's Facebook page showing them checking in for the flight earlier in the day.
And they were flying from Bolivia to Colombia, where they were set to play in the South American Club Finals in Medellin.
The city's mayor calling it a, quote, tragedy of huge proportions, and we'll continue to follow that story for you.
And to another alert this morning, I can't take it anymore. The chilling words posted online minutes before an Ohio State University student rammed his car into a crowd of people, pulled out a butcher knife, and then started slashing anyone in his path.
This morning, some brand new information about the attacker's past and possible ties to terror. Garrett Tenney live for us from Columbus with the very latest. Good morning, Garrett.
Clayton and Heather, good morning to you. At this point, investigators aren't ready to say that this attack was indeed motivated by terrorism, but there are indications early on that suggest that could be the case. Investigators are now looking at a Facebook post, which could belong to the attacker, Abdul Artan, and they say he posted it minutes before this attack was carried out. Again, they're working to confirm whether or not this was in fact him, but they do believe that's the case. One investigator describes the post as a declaration against unfair treatment of Muslims. Now, another concerning detail so far is the methods that were used in carrying out this attack. The fact that he was driving a car into a crowd of people and using a knife. ISIS has recently urged its supporters to use both of those methods in carrying out attacks. Now, we're also learning more about Artan, the 18-year-old Ohio State student who was behind this attack. Neighbors say he was polite and attended daily prayer services at a mosque. And back in August, a student by the same name, Abdul Artan, complained to the Ohio State student newspaper, The Lantern, that there weren't any spaces to pray on campus and that he thought people were afraid of him because he was a Muslim. Well, yesterday morning, Abdul Artan plowed his car into a crowd of students and pulled out a butcher knife to attack them before he was stopped by a campus police officer. Now, we're also hearing more from students about how that horrific scene played out.
So suddenly a car appeared on the sidewalk and it just hit everybody who was in front. So I guess I saw one guy flipped over because of the impact. And after that, everybody was shouting, run, run, run.
I hear a loud noise, heard a loud bang, and I saw a huge cloud of dust. People were really running and really screaming. I'm like, oh, this is something's going on. And then I heard the 3 gunshots and from about that same area.
In all, 11 people were injured in the attack, one of them critically, and we are expecting to get an update on their condition later this morning. Clayton and Heather.
All right, Garrett Tenney live for us this morning in Columbus. Thanks, Garrett.
Thank you, Garrett.
And ties to terror now a key focus as police dig into the suspect's past. Congressman Peter King says this attack had all the hallmarks of terrorism.
I believe it has all the indicators of terrorism, and I would be surprised if it's not. Obviously, we can't make a final conclusion, but everything is there. A Somali refugee, the type of attack, hitting people with his vehicle, using the knife. This coming shortly after the president announced that Al-Shabaab, which is based in Somalia, is going to be declared a terrorist organization. Right after ISIS encouraged people to use vehicles to crash into crowds and to use knives as a weapon as opposed to a gun. So all the indicators are there. Again, if I had to bet, I'd say yes. And there's a real problem with the Somali community as far as having a large number of Al-Shabaab supporters.
Meanwhile, that Somali community is talking about now under the microscope. Under Ohio Governor John Kasich's refugee program, hundreds of refugees from places such as Syria and Somalia have settled in Ohio.
Switching gears now, President-elect Donald Trump's growing team moving full steam ahead. The newest cabinet member expected to be officially announced today. Kristen Fisher is live for us in Washington, D.C. with some inside information ahead of several high-profile meetings today. Good morning, Kristen.
Hey, good morning, Heather. Well, the most high-profile meeting will take place tonight when President-elect Trump has dinner one-on-one with his former rival turned leading contender for Secretary of State, Mitt Romney. Now, one topic that is almost certainly going to come up is the fierce opposition to a Romney appointment from within Trump's inner circle, especially from Kellyanne Conway. Trump's former campaign manager took a lot of heat for attacking him on multiple Sunday shows, but last night she fired off this tweet as if to prove that she's still in the president's good graces. It had the caption, "Donald Trump and I working hard tonight. Thank you for the privilege of a lifetime president-elect of the United States." Well, yesterday, Mr. Trump met with another top contender for Secretary of State, retired General David Petraeus. The two spoke for about an hour at Trump Tower, and when he left, the former CIA director said this.
The meeting went very well. Was with him for about an hour. He basically walked us around the world, showed a great grasp of a variety of the challenges that are out there and some of the opportunities as well. So, very good conversation, and we'll see where it goes from here. And I've got to teach this afternoon, so that's all I can do today.
That's a good excuse. Well, Vice President-elect Mike Pence is saying that the Trump transition team will be making important announcements today, and that may include Mr. Trump's selection for Health and Human Services Secretary. Last night, a top transition aide told Fox News that Georgia Congressman Tom Price has been picked for the job. Price has been an outspoken critic of Obamacare. Also on the schedule for today, at least 7 more meetings, including one with Senator Bob Corker, another person rumored to be in the running for the Secretary of State spot. Heather and Clayton.
And our own Pete Hegseth there on that list of people.
I know, saw him there.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. Thank you very much, Kristen.
Sure.
Well, the recount battle now intensifying as Green Party candidate Jill Stein challenges results in a second battleground state.
But Republicans say they're ready to fight back with a plan of their own. And for more on that, we turn to Kelly Wright, who's live in our nation's capital. Good morning, Kelly.
Clayton and Heather, good morning to you as well. Former Green Party presidential candidate Dr. Jill Stein was not well known during her presidential campaign, but she is certainly making herself known now through her efforts to call for recounts in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and Michigan. Wisconsin is already preparing to go ahead with the recount. She is now preparing, or arguing rather, for Pennsylvania to conduct a statewide recount there. Stein says 100 petitioners are concerned about voting machines possibly being hacked in their districts. She plans to take the same action in Michigan.
That only just now declared its winner. This was not a partisan choice. This was zooming in on the states that have the markings of most vulnerable to hacking because they had thin margins. They went the opposite way of what was expected, and they had some kind of voting system vulnerability.
The Clinton campaign says it supports the recount efforts as well, but are not coordinating with Stein. One Republican strategist says the campaign's involvement is just furthering the country's divide and hurting the Democratic Party.
I think the recount mania is one more example of the collapse of the Democratic Party as a realistic institution. Next, we're going to be told that not only were the Russians engaged, but that there were Martians.
President-elect Donald Trump calls the recount efforts a scam, but Stein defends her actions.
Once again, Donald is making things up, and he will soon discover that when you are a president, you can't just create your own facts.
Well, Stein says her efforts will not change the outcome of the election, but it's about, as she says, the integrity of electronic voting. The RNC is furious about all of this and now raising defense funds to fight back against the efforts to review President-elect Trump's victory. Back to you guys.
All right, thanks, Kelly. Well, President Obama and Vice President Biden vowing to skip Fidel Castro's funeral on Sunday, their decision coming as critics urge the White House not to mourn the anti-American dictator. As hundreds of thousands continue to pay their respects in Cuba, President-elect Donald Trump is threatening to freeze a recent thaw in diplomatic relations. Mr. Trump tweeting this: if Cuba is unwilling to make a better deal for the Cuban people, the Cuban American people, and the U.S. as a whole, I will terminate that deal.
Well, 22 veterans commit suicide every day, and now a new law could help save our heroes' lives. President Obama signing a bill to help ensure that every phone call to the VA's crisis hotline is answered in a timely manner and by a trained professional. This after a shocking Inspector General report revealed that 1 out of every 6 calls to the crisis line went unanswered. The report also showing 25% of veterans who killed themselves were under VA care at the time.
Do we have to do Packers highlights for crying out loud?
Shake-up, meantime, for the NFL. Is Thursday Night Football getting sacked?
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, is here with more on that. Is anyone watching Thursday Night Football? I always forget it's on.
Exactly. That's maybe part of the problem here. And think about it. Is your favorite team maybe not doing so well because they're playing on Thursday nights? They didn't get enough rest after Sunday. That's being bantered about. But look, the NFL is now responding to reports and rumors that Thursday Night Football might be in trouble. Ratings have been fallen. And also, a lot of the teams haven't really been some of the big-name teams that I guess viewers have wanted to see. But we got the statement from the NFL saying, quote unquote, we are fully committed to Thursday Night Football, and any reports to the contrary are unfounded. But remember, guys, they don't want to open up Pandora's box. There's a lot of contracts involved with Thursday Night Football. Right. It would be a big shakeup for the NFL if they decided to get rid of Thursday Night Football next season.
Well, I know that you're a big fan of Taylor Swift.
Oh,
right?
yeah. I mean, my iPod is just filled with it.
Well, she's getting her own channel, right? Direct Now?
Direct Now, but I'll tell you what, Direct Now is really the great story here for all of us that like to kind of walk around and watch TV on different devices, maybe not our TV. A lot of buzz about this, I got to say, in the industry right now. Direct TV Now is launching today. No cable, no cord, no problem. It is a streaming service. You pay for it separately. Doesn't affect your data plan if you have AT&T as a provider. For $35 a month, you can get 60 channels. $70 a month can get you 120 channels. There's 2 other tiers in between. But the only issue right now for these guys, no CBS, no Showtime, no NFL Sunday Ticket, if you want to stay on football here for a second, they're trying to target the mobile customers. They realize that cord cutters out there don't want cable. This is their answer. There's a lot of positive buzz about this move with AT&T, and it, again, doesn't affect your data plan.
It's positive, but no Sunday NFL Ticket?
They're working on it.
Come on.
They're in negotiations with CBS,
That's the whole
Showtime,
reason
and
you
NFL.
get them. I mean, all right, anyway.
Yeah, they're saying it's coming. I don't know.
And some an Uber for laundry. What is this story about?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, Taylor Swift is getting her own channel on DirecTV Now. I forgot to tell you that part. Okay, coming up, this is Uber washing machines. Yes. Okay, we know Uber cars. What about having a washing machine that you could use as your own Uber car / Uber washing machine, and you could rent it out to your neighbors? A lot of you are probably going to say, I would never do that. But Electrolux is working on a washing machine, another smart appliance where you can control it from your phone. You can put cameras around it, and it would actually be an online rental through the web, the smartphone. It's another way for them to sell brand new pretty appliances.
What kind of a neighbor would you be? Yeah, come on over and use my appliances and just leave some quarters in the thing for me.
Exactly. I think that would be easier. Well, coming up, we're in the middle of holiday shopping. It just started, of course, with Black Friday. Coming up in about half an hour, the best credit cards for holiday shopping. If you're going to go out and shop, you might as well get points for it. I'm going to have that story coming up.
All right. Thank you so much, Cheryl. We'll see you back here. Thanks. Well, the time now is 12 minutes after the top of the hour, and it's supposed to be rehabilitating Gitmo terrorists. Instead, it's a 5-star training factory for jihad, complete with art therapy classes.
And the travel can be a nightmare, but so bad you want to jump from the airplane? The story behind the walk on the wing coming up.
And angels taking flight, the dream cabin filled with Victoria's Secret models.
I was not on that flight. But first, a look at weather across the country.
A dire emergency in a southern state at this hour. Families and tourists forced to evacuate as these wildfires threaten Dolly Parton's Dollywood Resort. Fast-moving flames devouring at least 30 buildings in the Gatlinburg, Tennessee area. That's less than 10 miles from the popular resort, including this wedding chapel, which is completely engulfed in flames. Look at that. More than 1,000 people are now seeking refuge in shelters as mandatory evacuation orders remain in place. And absolute chaos unfolding on the tarmac after a woman opens an emergency door on a packed United Airlines plane, and then she just walks down the wing 15 steps behind. It all unfolding moments after the plane landed in Houston, leaving officials baffled as to what motivated the stunt. Right now, the woman is being evaluated at a mental health facility.
Well, 3 weeks after the election day, one of the tightest congressional races has finally been called. California's Darrell Issa narrowly holding on to his seat for a 9th term. He beat Democratic challenger Doug Applegate by just over 2,000 votes. Issa, the top Republican on the House Oversight Committee, says he is humbled at the chance to serve for 2 more years. And President-elect Donald Trump officially winning Michigan, making it the last state to call the election. The final tally, President-elect Trump nearly 11,000 more votes there than Hillary Clinton. The victory coming amid calls for a recount in the battleground state, as well as in Wisconsin and now Pennsylvania.
And the time now, 18 minutes after the top of the hour. He helped Casey Anthony go free after her daughter was killed. And now one of her lawyers needs some serious legal help of his own.
Plus, Tom Price may be your next HHS secretary, and he appears to have the same distaste for Obamacare as his new boss does.
Millions of people getting insurance cancellation notices in the mail. This is ridiculous. In the American
Welcome back. President-elect Trump set to name another member of his cabinet, with Tom Price being tapped as the next HHS secretary as the Trump transition team promises big announcements today.
Here to weigh in on the latest from the White House transition, or on the White House transition team, and you're actually a member of that, political commentator Aaron McPike. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
So let's talk about Representative Price. He's a doctor. He also chairs the House Budget Committee, and he is not a fan of Obamacare. Here's just one of many things he's had to say about it. Listen to this.
Ever since President Obama and the Democrat-led Congress passed Obamacare 6 years ago, the law's failures have been piling up. Premiums and deductibles going through the roof, patients losing their doctors, millions of people getting insurance cancellation notices in the mail. This is ridiculous, and the American people should not have to put up with it.
So, Aaron, pretty much an indication of where the Donald Trump administration will go in towards of Obamacare, right?
That's right. And it seems to me that Tom Price is really a no-brainer kind of a pick for Donald Trump. He was the point person for House Republicans through all of Obamacare. Whenever House Republicans came to the microphones in the Capitol to talk about Obamacare, he was at the front. He also sponsored a lot of legislation on what to replace Obamacare with. So he's intimately familiar with that law and will be working closely, I am certain, with House Republicans if he is confirmed as HHS Secretary on just how to go about dismantling the small pieces of that law.
Just a small thing. Aaron, let's be honest. This is maybe the most unenviable job in all of Washington right now. I mean, he has to decouple Obamacare. He's now at the head of the agency. He really doesn't like federal control of health care. How is he going to do that? How is he going to walk that fence?
Well, that's a great question, and you point out that it is the most unenviable job. It has been. Remember when Kathleen Sebelius, for a long time as HHS Secretary, had to deal with all of the problems with Obamacare. Here's an interesting point. Remember, back in late 2008, early 2009, the Obama administration wanted to appoint Tom Daschle to that role because he wanted universal health care to be his legacy. He had worked on that back in the 90s in the Senate, and then he had to withdraw his nomination because of some tax problems. But that job has just been really a bummer for people going forward. So, but look, this is Tom Price's passion. He wants to have better legislation in his mind in place. And so, you know, I do think he's close to Paul Ryan and some of these other House Republicans, and he does know that law so well.
Also wants to overhaul Medicaid and Medicare, some major changes in that respect as well.
Yeah, that's right. But look, I would also point out, you mentioned that he's a doctor, he's an orthopedic surgeon. He's an advocate for doctors. He's also an advocate for patients. So, I think that this may seem like an unenviable job to us, but he knows it inside and out.
He's got to move really quickly, though, because there are a lot of people that will be impacted on this. And some people were talking about the timeline, saying that this needs to be one of the first things, especially in terms of having an alternate plan.
That's right. And remember, he also runs the House Budget Committee, as you said, and one of the things that we're hearing is that they would have to dismantle the health care law through budget reconciliation. So they do have to move quickly, but it's not going to be that quick. This actually could take a number of months, 6 to 9 months, to get much movement on it.
Aaron, let's talk about some of the other drama going on right now, which is these recounts happening. Jill Stein now petitioning Pennsylvania to recount there, and we obviously have the Wisconsin recount that's already underway. What's the end game here?
Honestly, I think it is for Jill Stein to get a lot of public relations help with the Green Party. And as the Democratic Party tries to rebuild, the Green Party wants a little piece of that action. And I think that's really the end game, because the Clinton campaign is not joining in this effort in any real way. Of course, they have one lawyer who's kind of involved with the process, but you're not seeing much of the Central Democratic Party make much of a push here.
And I did have a question about that in terms of the amount of money that's been raised. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. $6.4 million so far, and in Wisconsin, I believe alone, she would have to pay $3 million to cover the cost.
$3.5 million.
Yeah, $3.5 million. How do we know where that money is coming from?
Well, that's a great question, but she's obviously gone on this fundraising mission and trying to get activists to raise money for her. And I think you're seeing a lot of people who are not happy with the Trump election put some money behind that effort. But, that's not a ton of money. When you're talking about an election that costs over $1 billion, $7 million is not a whole lot.
That's a lot more than she raised during the general campaign.
That's right.
Yeah.
But again, it's coming from a lot of leftist activists who are just not happy with the outcome of the election.
All right, thanks. Aaron McPike up bright and early with us this morning. Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
The time is now 27 minutes after the hour, 5 a.m. on the eastern seaboard here, and this story is what everyone's talking about. A Somali-born student goes on a slashing spree at Ohio State University. So was it terrorism?
I think we have to accept at this point in time there are cells here. These folks are here functioning hidden within these larger communities.
What does President-elect Trump need to do to fight terror in America? We're live in Columbus. It is Tuesday, November 29th, and this is a Fox News alert. Terrorism not ruled out in the violent rampage at Ohio State University carried out by a Somali refugee.
There's OSU. We have a vehicle that struck several pedestrians. We have gunshots fired. We have one down.
We are live on the ground in Columbus with what investigators just found on that suspect's computer.
Wait, get ready. Buckle up. Buckle up. President-elect Trump's transition team is promising a very important announcement today. Who could it be? Also on the agenda, breaking bread with Mitt Romney. We're live in Washington.
And angels taking flight, the dream cabin filled with Victoria's Secret models. Fox and Friends First continues right now. I can't take it anymore. Haunting words posted online just minutes before a Somali-born student went on a slashing spree at Ohio State University.
Nearly a dozen students recovering as investigators looking into the possibility this was a terror attack.
Garrett Tenney's live for us in Columbus, Ohio, with some new information, what we need to know about the suspect. Good morning, Garrett.
Good morning, Heather and Clayton. And as investigators continue to look in this, they are not quite ready to say that this is terrorism related. But one senior lawmaker says that this bears all the hallmarks of a terrorist attack. Now, investigators are continuing to comb through the electronic records, the communications of 18-year-old Abdul Artan, the attacker here at Ohio State yesterday. They're talking to his family members, his friends, and trying to get a better idea of who he was as a person. And as they've been going through his computer and his personal communications and social media, they have come across a Facebook post that they believe is his. They aren't confirmed that that is the case yet, but they do believe that it's the case. And they say that this Facebook post was made just minutes before the attack was carried out, and one law enforcement source described it to us as a declaration against unfair treatment of Muslims. If that's the case, it would go along with what we've seen, that a student by the same name, Abdul Artan, told the student paper back in August when he complained to the paper, The Lantern, that there weren't any spaces to pray on campus and that he thought people were afraid of him because he was a Muslim. Now, another concerning detail as they are continuing to look into this attack is the methods that were used. The fact that a car was used to plow into a crowd and that a knife was then used. You'll remember in Nice, France, how the truck plowed through the crowd there. And just recently this month, ISIS has called on its supporters to do similar mass casualty attacks using vehicles. And even this past Saturday, ISIS posted a video online encouraging its supporters to use knives for attacks and gave instructions on how to do that. Now, we're also learning from students hearing what that scene was like as Abdul Artan jumped over that curb in his car, drove into this crowd, and began stabbing 11 students there.
There's OSU. We have a vehicle that struck several pedestrians. We have gunshots fired. We have one down.
A couple girls and a couple guys came in and they were out of breath, completely panicked, and they had said that they had just seen somebody drive up and basically run over a crowd of people, and somebody jumped out, and I heard there was like a machete or something.
Now, this attack could have been much worse, and this is the officer who they are praising for stopping it when he did, 28-year-old Alan Haruko. He is a graduate of Ohio State University. He joined the Ohio State University Police Department back in January 2015. He was there on the scene in less than a minute from when this attack began, and the officers are praising him, the police chief saying that he was heroic here and did exactly what he was trained to do. Now, here on Ohio State campus, classes will resume again today. Students coming back after yesterday when they were canceled. Everyone here still in shock. Heather and Clayton.
Some of those social media pictures of students that were barricaded inside those rooms, it really was very frightening. Thank you, Garrett.
Absolutely.
Well, the question many are now asking, what does President-elect Trump need to do to fight terror in America? Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer says that we have to root the people being radicalized, root them out before they come into the country.
I think we have to accept at this point in time there are cells here. These folks are here functioning hidden within these larger communities. And Donald Trump, Mr. Trump and his team are going to have to go two ways on this. They're going to have to go and look at those who are already here regarding the fact that the door has been open. Governor Kasich has accepted an extraordinary number of folks, of Somalis, into Ohio. He now has to accept the responsibility of allowing some, like this individual, to have been let in and attempted to kill Americans. Secondly, we have to do a deeper screening of people coming in. We know the reference communities these folks come from, and as Peter said, Al-Shabaab is a terrorist organization. People go to Somalia and they get radicalized, they get trained, and they come back.
So let's keep talking about this. What do you think President-elect Trump needs to do to fight terror in America? Log on to the Fox and Friends First Facebook page right after the show for a live debate. #KeepTalking.
And now to another alert. At least 5 people somehow survived this horrific plane crash overnight in Colombia. The chartered plane was carrying 81 people, including a Brazilian soccer team, when it crashed in the mountains just outside the city of Medellin. Right now, we know that the pilot made an emergency call about an electrical failure in the moments before the impact. You can see on this radar on your screen, you can see the plane was just circling around right before it crashed. And this video, posted to the team's Facebook page, shows them checking in for the flight on their way to the finals match in Colombia before they boarded that plane.
Well, he helped clear Casey Anthony of a murder conviction for the horrific death of her baby daughter. But now her former legal lawyer faces some big legal trouble of his own, charged in an international drug smuggling scheme. The feds say that Todd Macaluso planned to fly nearly 2 tons of cocaine from Ecuador to Honduras and then smuggle the drugs into the U.S. A licensed pilot, Macaluso, was arrested in Haiti before the alleged deal went down. He faces 10 years to life in prison.
Well, President-elect Donald Trump's growing team moving full steam ahead. The newest cabinet member expected to be officially announced today. Kristen Fisher is live in Washington, D.C. with the inside info ahead of several of these high-profile meetings. Good morning, Kristen.
Hey, good morning, Clayton. Yeah, Vice President-elect Mike Pence is saying that the transition team will be making important announcements today, and that could very well include the Health and Human Services Secretary. Now, last night, a top transition aide told Fox News that Congressman Tom Price had been tapped for the job. The six-term congressman from from Georgia, is an orthopedic surgeon and a vocal critic of Obamacare. That was seen as one of his strengths within the Trump transition team. Now, yesterday, Mr. Trump also met with retired General David Petraeus, who's being considered for Secretary of State. The two spoke for about an hour inside Trump Tower, and when he left, the former CIA director said they had a good conversation.
The meeting went very well. Was with him for about an hour. He basically walked us around the world, showed a great grasp of a variety of the challenges that are out there and some of the opportunities as well. So, very good conversation, and we'll see where it goes from here. And I've got to teach this afternoon, so that's all I can do today.
Saved by the bell. Well, today, Trump will be meeting with at least 7 more people, including 2 others who are on the short list for Secretary of State, Senator Bob Corker and Mitt Romney. And Romney and Mr. Trump, they won't just be meeting, they'll be having dinner together in New York City, one-on-one. And one topic that's sure to come up is the fierce opposition to a Romney appointment from within Trump's inner circle, especially from Kellyanne Conway. Trump's former campaign manager took a lot of heat yesterday for attacking Romney on multiple Sunday shows. But last night, she fired off this tweet. Donald Trump and I are working hard tonight. Thank you for the privilege of a lifetime, President-elect of the United States. It's almost as if she wanted to let everyone know that she's still in the President-elect's good graces. Right, Heather and Clayton?
That's right. Yeah, she's like, I don't like Mitt Romney, but I like Donald Trump.
There's a plan behind everything that they do. So
thanks, Kristen.
Well, the time now is about 20 minutes until the top of the hour, and it's supposed to be rehabilitating Gitmo terrorists. Instead, it's a 5-star training factory for jihad, complete with art therapy classes and PlayStation. Wait until you hear this.
And planning on putting those Christmas presents on plastic, the best rewards cards to use to get cash back and airline miles. Well, welcome back. It's known as the Betty Ford Center for Terrorists, but turns out Saudi Arabia's terror rehab, where several former Gitmo detainees now call home, is really a 5-star training factory for jihad. A senior al-Qaeda operative dropping the bombshell on the Gitmo parole board. The Obama administration had previously praised the Saudi program, which features art therapy, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, PlayStation, and of course gourmet meals.
Well, the FBI running more background checks than ever as Black Friday gun sales soared. Nearly 186,000 background checks processed for gun transactions on Friday alone. And that is the most on a single day since the system launched nearly 2 decades ago.
Well, gearing up for some serious holiday shopping, using the right credit card could save you a lot of money in the long run.
Cheryl Casoni from our sister network, Fox Business, here to break down the best credit cards for holiday shopping. Good morning.
Good morning again, guys. Yeah, Americans expected to spend an average $935 each during the holiday shopping season, and there's more competition now between the credit card companies. So if you are in the market for a new card, you are in luck. There are several cards that offer points, rewards, miles, and more. And according to the Motley Fool, one of the best cards is the Chase Sapphire Preferred Card. You get a 50,000 point bonus after spending $4,000 in the first 3 months, and the $95 annual fee is waived for the first year. Also, Capital One's Venture Rewards Card offers a 40,000 point bonus after $3,000 in spending. It has a lower annual fee than Chase, just $59, and that fee is waived for the first year. Plus, it earns 2 miles per dollar on every purchase. The Citi Double Cash Card offers 2% cash back on all your purchases, no annual fee there. Also from Citi, the Simplicity Card. It's got no annual fee, no late fees, and a 21-month 0% APR. Finally, you want to choose a card that best suits you. Best Buy has a Visa card if you like Best Buy. Offers 5% back on purchases at Best Buy, and you can regularly receive 10% back offers for certain times throughout the year. The American Express Platinum Delta Sky Miles card offers a limited time bonus, 70,000 miles. The annual fee, little high, $195. free check bags, and you get a companion ticket. Also offered if you sign up for that card. So if you're in the market for a new card, there are a lot of good options right now for you.
All right. Thank you, Cheryl.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Yeah, pick the card that you need. Like Brian Kilmeade, he's always out there shopping. You got one of the McDonald's credit card, right? Every day. Burger King and McDonald's.
Absolutely, especially now that they have breakfast for dinner. It gives me the option to charge things and not have to pay all at once. I know if I'm going to go for a cyber deal, as you know, you always have to go to Clayton. Clayton, right. If you want to know what's actually going to be in our show over the next 3 hours, this is your one-stop shopping right on the couch. Let me just tell you, investigators right now are looking into the motive for the Ohio State attack. A Somali-born Muslim who was angry that he wasn't allowed to pray, felt self-conscious about praying in public. You put the pieces together. We have expert analysis you won't get anywhere else. Plus, if you're in a lone wolf situation or being attacked, how do you attack back? We're going to take a look at that. And how do you get refugee status to come to this country to begin with? We're going to go inside how the Somalian community has come here by the tens of thousands over the last 8 years. We're also going to do this thing called Trump transition. More speculation about what could be happening today, including the name of another cabinet secretary and what's going to be served at the Romney-Trump dinner tonight.
That
we will
will be
speculate.
interesting.
Yeah, will Romney get his announcement today?
To be a fly on the wall for that one.
Thank you, Brian. Good to see you.
Good seeing you guys.
Go grab some breakfast.
Back to Fox and Friends first. The recount battle now intensifying as Green Party candidate Jill Stein challenges the results in a second battleground state.
Yeah, Kelly Wright's live in Washington, D.C., following all of the new developments there. Good morning, Kelly.
Clayton, Heather, good morning to you as well. Jill Stein says her efforts for getting votes recounted will not change the outcome of the election, but she says it will determine the integrity of electronic voting. Wisconsin is already preparing to go ahead with the recount, and now Stein is arguing Pennsylvania should be next. Stein says 100 petitioners are concerned about voting machines possibly being hacked. She plans to take the same action in Michigan.
Michigan, that only just now declared its winner. This was not a partisan choice. This was zooming in on the states that have the markings of most vulnerable to hacking because they had thin margins. They went the opposite way of what was expected, and they had some kind of voting system vulnerability.
But critics of Stein argue her efforts are a waste of time.
Look, this is a joke. This is a fundraising scam for her party. She's going to raise the money. Look, if she really cared about the outcome of Wisconsin and Michigan, she wouldn't have campaigned there, siphoned away the votes that would obviously have gone to Hillary and have given her the state.
And even David Axelrod says the recount effort is worthless, tweeting, "Recounts are cathartic, may help bring closure, but I can't think of a race with these spreads that have been overturned in recount." And President-elect Trump is said to be angry over Stein's efforts. He is raising a defense fund along with the RNC to fight back. Heather and Clayton.
All right.
Thanks, Kelly. Meanwhile, this story, Twitter under fire this morning after verifying one foreign radical group's Twitter account while rejecting one from a conservative political group.
Yeah, Carly Shimkus with Fox News Headlines 24/7. Sirius XM 115 has that story that has social media users talking, no doubt, because there was all the controversy about blocking some conservative accounts.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, Twitter says that they're cracking down on hate speech by suspending accounts belonging to alt-right group members. So a lot of people saying this new move does not make sense. Twitter giving the Muslim Brotherhood's English-speaking account a blue check of approval despite the group's ties to terrorism and Islamic or anti-Semitic propaganda. Texas Senator Ted Cruz suggesting the move could be dangerous, telling the Washington Free Beacon it makes the Brotherhood seem like a legitimate group while providing their cover to spread their radical version of Islam. Back in February, the House Judiciary Committee approved legislation recognizing the Muslim Brotherhood as a terrorist organization. Now, this verification comes just 2 weeks after Twitter suspended accounts belonging to alt-right group leaders, saying, quote, "The Twitter rules prohibit targeted abuse and harassment, and we will suspend accounts that violate this policy." Twitter has declined to comment.
All right, if I wanted to go out hiking to try to meet Hillary Clinton, I might run into a lot of other people who are trying to do the same thing, right, Carly?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Now, shortly after the election, a Hillary Clinton supporter spotted the former candidate on a hike in the woods near her home in Chappaqua, New York. Then this guy ran into Clinton in the woods as well. Both cases sparking a now viral trend of people claiming to be hiking to try and run into Hillary Clinton. Hunter Schwartz tweeting, "How long do you think you'd have to hike outside Chappaqua before you bump into Hillary Clinton?" And David Itzkoff, who appears to still be in the woods as we speak, writes, "I don't think the kids in the Blair Witch Project spent this much time lost in the woods."
I wonder if there's a meme for that yet.
Stay safe out there, yeah.
All right, so Victoria's Secret models board a plane to Paris, and Clayton, you're not on it. How'd that happen?
I didn't have a ticket, unfortunately, on this flight.
Oh, shucks. A plane filled with angels has landed in France. Victoria's Secret angels, that is. The Victoria's Secret fashion show is set to film in Paris tomorrow. They posted this to Instagram with the caption, "Bonjour, Paris, the angels have landed." The fashion show will air on December 5th. Clayton, will you be tuning into that?
I will. You know, that is a show I can watch in my sweatpants. Normally when I fly, I'll wear, like, you know, pretty terrible outfit. If I was on a
You'd have to be suited up in duds like this.
I'd wear this.
Yeah, bingo.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you, Carly.
Something to look forward to.
Well, the time now is about 5 minutes until the top of the hour, and traveling over the holidays is already a nightmare, but today it's about to get a whole lot worse.
The strike you need to know about before you leave the house.
It is 2 minutes until the top of the hour. And before you leave the house, here's what's happening for you today. Classes resume at Ohio State University as investigators work to figure out if the knife attack was an act of terror. 11 people recovering after a Somali-born student rammed his car into a crowd, pulled out a butcher knife, and started slashing. The suspect shot dead by police.
And President-elect Trump meeting with former Governor Mitt Romney again today as the battle for Secretary of State intensifies. The two are expected to have dinner tonight, as Vice President-elect Mike Pence suggests. Big administration announcements could come today when he said buckle up.
And hundreds of workers at one of the country's busiest airports set to walk off the job at noon. Service workers at Chicago's O'Hare Airport demanding better working conditions and a $15 an hour wage. And of course, we'll continue to follow those wildfires in Tennessee.
That's right. You want a strike right now during the holidays at O'Hare. Yeah. It's a good time. Fox and Friends begins right now.
Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
It's Tuesday, November 29th. I'm Ainsley Earhart. We start with a Fox News alert. A Muslim refugee attacks an American college campus, running down people with his car before jumping out and slashing them with a knife. His anti-American post just minutes before that massacre. And what we are learning now about the hero cop who likely saved many lives. We are live there in Columbus.
And even more breaking news overnight. Look at that right there. Raging wildfires turning Tennessee into a tinderbox. An inferno burning up popular tourist attractions around Dollywood. And the trouble, not over yet.
And the price appears to be right. Yes, for President-elect Trump, set to name Obamacare critic Congressman/Dr. Tom Price to his cabinet. As we learn of a private dinner planned tonight with Mitt Romney and Donald Trump. Is this a sign of an announcement ahead or a big letdown when he says pass the salt? And by the way, you're out or in as Secretary of State. A lot of intrigue, a lot of reason to watch, and we're just about out of music, so it's time for me to say, get dressed. Your mornings are better with Friends.
We start our telecast today with a Fox News alert. The Ohio State University student who rammed his car into a crowd, pulled out a butcher's knife, and slashed everybody he could may have been motivated by terror.
This morning, we have brand new information about the attacker's past as investigators are trying to piece together the motive here.
Yep, Garrett Tenney is live in Columbus, Ohio, with the very latest. Garrett, fill us in.
Hey, good morning, y'all. One senior lawmaker already says that this attack bears all the hallmarks of terrorism. But before investigators can say that definitively, they need to find out exactly what the motivation was behind it for 18-year-old Abdul Artan. And to do that, they are now searching, tracking down, and talking to his family members, his friends. They're going through his phone, his communications, and also his social media profiles. Already, investigators have found a Facebook post that they believe knife belongs to Artan, which was made minutes before his attack. One law enforcement source described it as a declaration against unfair treatment of Muslims and said it appeared to condemn U.S. military action in Muslim countries. Now, another concerning indicator for investigators is the methods that Artan used, the car and the knife. As recently as this past weekend, ISIS was encouraging its supporters to use knives in attacks, and it even gave instructions on how to do that. And earlier this month, it also posted in its magazine the instructions on how to carry out mass casualty attacks using vehicles such as the truck that was used in the Nice, France attacks. Now, we are also hearing more from students that were here at this scene, the chaos that ensued as he ran over the curb and then pulled out a butcher knife and began attacking those students.
So suddenly a car appeared on the sidewalk and it just like hit everybody who was in front. So I guess I saw one guy like flipped over because of the impact. And after that, like everybody was shouting, run, run, run.
I hear a loud noise, I heard a loud bang. And I saw a huge cloud of like dust. People were like really running and like really screaming. I'm like, oh, this is like something's going on. And then I heard the 3 gunshots and from about that same area.
In total, 11 people were injured in this attack, one of them seriously, and it could have been much worse if it weren't for the quick actions of the officer, 28-year-old Alan Haruko, who is being praised as a hero. Haruko is a graduate of Ohio State University, and he joined the police department in January of 2015. Students returning to classes again today after being canceled yesterday. Folks here still very much in shock. Brian?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Garrett Tenney with the latest. We're going to find out more, maybe even within our show. Just a little bit more background on Abdul Razik Ali Artan. You know, he was actually on August 25th, he actually wrote this, he was actually featured in the Humans of Ohio in this article, and he talked about transferring from Columbus State to Ohio State and his frustration with not finding prayer rooms when he wanted to pray because the place is so huge. A lot of times you could find that out by looking online before you register for that college, but maybe that's old-fashioned. Here's a quote.
He wrote, I wanted to pray in the open, but I was scared with everything going on in the media. I'm a Muslim. It's not what the media portrays me to be. If people look at me, a Muslim praying, I don't know what they're going to think. What's going to happen?
So here's the image of this guy is starting to emerge. He and his family obviously went to Columbus. Columbus, Ohio, I did not realize this till yesterday, has the number 2 second biggest population of Somalis in the United States.
Behind Minneapolis.
Yeah, only behind Minneapolis. They've got 38,000. So Somalis are, you know, they're not few and far between in Columbus, Ohio. But obviously he felt like he just didn't fit in because it was 3 minutes before the rampage when he rammed his silver, actually a family member's silver Honda Civic into that crowd of people, that he posted a rant online. And you could tell that he was warning people that he had reached a boiling point because he told the United States to stop interfering with other countries if you want U.S. Muslims to stop carrying out lone wolf attacks, and that clearly is what this was, according to Adam Schiff, congressman from California.
Yes, they have not ruled out terror in this.
No.
He also wrote, we are not weak. We are not weak, talking about Muslims. Remember that. I can't take it anymore, America.
Yeah. Right, fantastic. A guy who owns the Hometown Market right near his house said he had a bunch of brothers. He was a really nice guy. He was friendly, no craziness. He was respectful. Let's just look at his timeline. In 2007, he leaves Somalia, and then he goes, let me see, where are the beaches great and it's fun to get around? Pakistan. So I'll go to Pakistan for a while, and then I'm going to come to America, where I'm going to go to college, virtually for free, probably, and then I'm going to have a chance to transfer to Ohio State, one of the most prestigious, sought-after universities in the country, and then amazed he can't find a prayer room in the middle of the day while finding his classes. By the way, it's like a city. Ohio State might be the biggest college campus in the country. Nobody begged him to go there, and he finds his frustration, but instead of maybe going to see a counselor, he used his car as a weapon. And when they realized he hit 5 kids, and they were trying to find out, you know, see how these kids were, someone actually went to the car to see how he was. And then he emerges with a machete.
People are checking to make sure he's okay. He jumps out of the car with a butcher knife. Here's the thing. You don't feel comfortable praying in public? So you're going to run people over? You're going to stab them? Does that seem sane?
And keep in mind, it was just a couple of weeks earlier that ISIS told their people all around the world to do just that, to use knives and, in some cases, to run people over. Yep. Absolutely, on campuses. All right. Meanwhile, let's talk politics for a little bit. President-elect Donald Trump is going to call up to the 26th floor of his skyrise here in New York City. That man right there, the former governor of the great state of Massachusetts, Mitt Romney, is coming in for another chat. The big question is, will it be a, hey, how would you like to be my Secretary of State chat, or a, thanks for stopping by, this looks like the party is united because you're behind me now chat?
Yep. This dinner was leaked to the media. It was supposed to be a secret, but they are having a private dinner tonight. Also on the list, many people are wondering what's going on with Rudy Giuliani. I'm reading this morning that Senator Rand Paul, he's threatening to block Giuliani's nomination, that he's under a lot of scrutiny because of international business interests, his paid speeches, and consulting work for foreign entities. And also they're looking at other people like General Petraeus.
Yeah, and Bob Corker is going to be in today. Also look at Michael McCall. He's going to be somebody very respected in the intelligence community, maybe as somebody as National Intelligence Director. Marsha Blackburn has been one of the first person on the Trump train. If she doesn't get a job, I'd be shocked by that. But it's going to be a very interesting dinner, at which time we're going to find out if either Romney's going to be offered the job or be told, you're runner-up, or let's see if we can work something else out. Now let's talk about somebody else that we can confirm. It's a virtually done deal. It is going to be the Health and Human Services Secretary is going to be Tom Price. The congressman was a former orthopedic surgeon, and this is a man that we've interviewed a number of times on this show. I've done him on radio, too. He is one of the few people who doesn't just say repeal and replace Obamacare. He has drawn up a detailed plan on how we do it, and a lot of it's reflected in highlights on what Paul Ryan wanted to do as Speaker when he talks about a Better Way program.
So yesterday, Mike Pence said there are going to be a number of very important announcements today, at least two, it sounded like. So Fox has confirmed it's going to be Tom Price as HHS. There are rumors that perhaps the other name in that spot shadow right there could be Ben Carson from HUD, to get HUD the nomination, which would make sense because he said over the holiday he was going to pray on whether or not to do it. Or perhaps some have suggested that General James Mattis might get Defense Secretary, or a third name, Seema Verma, the CEO of SVC, a national health policy company. She would get, it sounds like, the administrator for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, and she has been on the radar of Mike Pence because when he was the governor of Indiana, she got an award from him recently where he saluted her work in health care.
Just a quick thing on the mystery with Kellyanne Conway. I think another chapter is in it. Very interesting to see Kellyanne Conway leaning over Donald Trump's shoulder as he reviewed or looked to be on the phone yesterday, or excuse me, looking at his laptop. Now, if they were on the out and another network reported that he was apoplectic and very upset that she went public with and reflected some of the upset among the base of Donald Trump's support of the prospect of Mitt Romney being named, if she was that upset, do you end up looking over his shoulder, or was this whole thing intentionally put out there?
People were wondering, do you think he's mad because she's not for Mitt Romney, and if he chooses Mitt Romney? But then they posted that picture last night. It shows them working together. I think that he puts all those differences aside, clearly, if he's looking at Mitt Romney.
Or he put her up to it, or she wanted to do it, and he said, go ahead, you got my blessing to go do it.
Right, you're allowed to have your opinion.
Yeah, so there you go.
See, I think they worked it out ahead of time. He said, you go on those shows and you say whatever you want about Mitt Romney.
I'm sure she asked his advice before she went on.
He is quoted in the New York Times as saying, I gave her permission to go on and essentially blow up Mitt Romney. So it's going to be a really interesting dinner they're going to have tonight, we think, over at Trump Tower.
All right, Heather has some breaking news for us this morning. Good morning, Heather.
Quite a day it is.
Yeah,
right? Good morning. Good morning to all of you. We start out right now with a Fox News alert. A dire emergency taking place in Tennessee right now. Families and tourists forced to evacuate as wildfires now threaten Dolly Parton's Dollywood Resort. Take a look at this video right here. Fast-moving flames devouring at least 30 buildings in Gatlinburg area, less than 10 miles from her popular resort, including this wedding chapel left engulfed in flames. More than 1,000 people are now in shelters this morning as mandatory evacuation orders remain in place. We'll watch this throughout the morning. Another alert right now. 5 people miraculously surviving a horrific plane crash overnight in Colombia. It was a chartered plane carrying 81 people when it crashed in the mountains just outside the city of Medellin. Also on board, this Brazilian soccer team, seen here checking in for that flight. They were headed to a finals match in Colombia. As of now, we know that the pilot made an emergency call about an electrical failure shortly before the crash, and then in this flight radar, you can see the plane as it circles before crashing. President Obama and Vice President Biden will skip Fidel Castro's funeral on Sunday. That decision coming as critics urge the White House not to mourn the dictator. Hundreds of thousands paying their respects in Cuba. President-elect Donald Trump threatening to freeze a recent thaw in diplomatic relations with that nation. Mr. Trump tweeting this, quote, "If Cuba is unwilling to make a better deal for the Cuban people, the Cuban American people, and the U.S. as a whole, I will terminate the deal." And those are your headlines. I'll see you back here.
All right.
A little bit. A lot going on today.
No kidding.
Yeah,
all right.
thanks.
Heather, thank you. More on our top story, the attack at Ohio State University. Could it have been prevented? Our next guest saw this coming and says it's no surprise.
Then 1,000 veterans strong protesting after a college lowered the American flag to mourn the loss of Hillary Clinton. The veteran who started this incredible movement is going to join us live as well.
'Cause I'm as free as a bird.